Hi, I'm Norleen, and today I'm going to read Chapter 9 of my old fanfiction Xanna. Content warning, it's old, outdated humor, it's terrible, it's so cringy, it's awful. I suggest that you run away now. Run away as far as you can. Set the internet on fire and just run. Let's get started! Chapter 9, Spiders. Xanna read the book as she and her friends walked along the road of Stranglethorn Vale. She started to rub her back. You know they're going to kill you when they find out where you're taking them, right? Shut up and let me read the map. Geez, someone's got her undies in a bunch. What's up? The freaking sky! Xanna huffed. And you say that you're the smart side of me. I meant what's wrong, you idiot. My back, it's killing me, Xanna said as she continued to rub her back. Damn the ground for being so hard to sleep on. I think this is a sign for you to not go to Stormwind and get us all killed. Xanna mentally slapped Izzy with the book. Shut your hole! I don't have a book. I have a back scratcher, not a book. Next scene. Something wrong with your back, Xanna? Moxa asked. Izzy sat up, rubbing her head. No, there's nothing wrong with it at all. She's just doing that for fun. Oh, and hitting me for fun. Can't forget that! Xanna looked over her shoulder, still rubbing her back and ignoring Izzy. What gave it away? She asked sarcastically. Moxa shrugged. Don't know. Xanna rolled her eyes and looked back at the book. She stopped reading it when she felt a hand on her shoulder. Xanna looked back to see who had stopped her. It was Moxa. He grabbed her arms. Moxa, what are you— Ah! Xanna yelped because Moxa had placed a foot on her spine, pulled her arms back, and made a loud cracking sound. Holy crap, did he just break your back? Moxa let go of Xanna's arms, put his foot back on the ground, and took a couple steps back. Feel better? Xanna straightened up, feeling her back. Have we said that word enough yet? She moved a little bit to make sure it wasn't broken, and made little cracking sounds as she did. Actually, yeah, I do. Thanks, Makaza. Moxa rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. No problem. Xanna picked him up and gave him a great big hug! Based off of things I used to do. Even though I'm shorter than most people, I used to be able to pick some larger people up when I gave them a hug. Moxa blushed because this was the first time Xanna had given him a hug, and he was a bit shocked because Xanna was able to pick him up. The others were shocked too, except for Cosmo and Gishpek. Cosmo wasn't shocked because he had been picked up by his tiny friend before, so he wasn't surprised that she was able to pick up a big orc like Moxa. Gishpek wasn't shocked because a few days ago, he had seen this tiny elf punch his friend miles away for looking down her shirt. Because anime. But the others were very, very shocked because anime. Whoa, I underestimated her strength, Dethium thought. Damn, that is so hot, Makoki thought. That should be me, Axel thought. Zonzon, Cosmo asked as he looked at his nails. Yeah? Xanna asked, still holding the big and heavy orc. Shouldn't we get going to wherever it is we're going? Oh, right. Xanna put Moxa down. He was still blushing. Let's get going, she said, turning around and walking again, reading the book, as she did, of course. Everyone followed, except for the two orcs. Axel grabbed Moxa's shoulder and pointed a finger at him. He wanted to yell at him, but couldn't say anything. Not my fault that she decided to hug me instead of you, Moxa said. Axel glared at Moxa. If you weren't my brother, I'd kill you. This didn't scare Moxa because his brother made threats like this pretty often, and he knew he never meant it. He only said it out of anger. Hey guys, you coming or what? Xanna shouted to her friends. The boys looked at her, then at each other. Axel let go of his brother. Yeah, we're coming, he said and continued to walk. Moxa sighed and followed the group. Next scene. Why did you keep Axel from killing Moxa? That would have been one less mouth to hear. Xanna rolled her eyes. Because I'm a nice person, and I don't like it when people fight. I barely like fighting myself. You know that. Right, don't like fighting. That's why you always want to kill the pig people in the barrens. Hey, they started that fight, and you know it. Izzy folded her arms over her chest. Well, maybe if you hadn't been picking their pockets, they wouldn't have attacked you. But I needed money. You know that too. Izzy placed a hand on her chin. True, maybe if you hadn't bought all of those shiny things, you wouldn't have had to go pickpocket those pigs, and they wouldn't have attacked you. I have a plan for those shiny things. Izzy had both of her arms over her chest again. Yeah, I know, putting them on a shelf so you can watch them slowly lose their shine as they collect dust. Xanna was glaring at Izzy, her hands balled up into fists at both her sides. Stop growling at me and take these people to their doom already. I want to see how fast the guards can kill them. Xanna's eyes widened. What is wrong with you? Many, many things. Like being trapped inside of an idiot's head for all eternity. Please, Lord, let there be a brain surgeon in Stormwind. The guards killed us so fast. Next scene. After about another hour and a half of walking, Xanna and her friends finally were out of Stranglethorn Vale. They were now in some weird dark forest. Finally, we're in Duskwood. Yeah, they are so gonna kill you. Will you shut up with that already? They won't kill me. Izzy gave her a look. What? Are you serious? You're in Duskwood, an alliance place. They're gonna think you're trying to kill them and kill you! They haven't looked at the book, so they don't know we're in an alliance place, Xanna retorted with a smart aleck tone. Izzy raised a finger at Xanna and opened her mouth to say something, but nothing came out. She opened and closed her mouth a few times and finally came up with something to say. I hate you. I know, Xanna smiled. Next scene, because that needed its own scene. Anyone who finds this ridiculous, you are welcome to leave now. Cosmo walked behind Xanna, Britishly, grabbing her shoulders. Zon, where are we? I don't like this place. It's spooky, Cosmo said as he looked around. Xanna reached up and touched one of Cosmo's hands to comfort him. It's okay, Cosmo. Mittens and I will protect you. Ain't that right, Mittens? Xanna looked down at Mittens, who was walking beside her. The lioness nodded. Meow. Cosmo smiled and hugged his friend, very happy that he would be protected in the spooky place. Xanna's ear twitched. Cosmo didn't notice. What's that? Xanna thought. Izzy looked up from her nails that she had been filing to look at Xanna. Xanna's ear twitched again. Can you guys hear that? Cosmo stopped hugging his friend and tried to focus on the noise Xanna was hearing. Xanna's ear twitched a third time. There it is again. What's it sound like? Moxa asked. I don't really know, but it sounds so familiar, Xanna said as she looked around. Cosmo placed a hand on his chin. Yeah, it does sound familiar. Man, what is this sound? He began to tap his chin. It's on the tip of my tongue. Xanna's eyes widened when she saw what was making the noise walk out into the middle of the road. Spy. Xanna stuttered as she tried to say the horrible word. Spider. Deathium smiled. Yeah, that's it, Cosmo said, raising the hand he had on his chin to point up, as if he was pointing to a light bulb on his head. Everyone stopped walking to stare at the giant spider. It was black, with red spots on its butt and head, because spiders have butts. Hey, that's a Black Widow hatchling, Izzy said delightedly. How do you know? Xanna squeaked. Izzy pointed to the book she was still holding. Says so in the book. Xanna's eyes slowly looked down at the book, her head slowly following them. She read the part about the spider. Black Widow hatchlings are very nasty creatures. They are big, black, have red spots, and are furry. They walk all around Duskwood. Try to avoid them if you can. Her eyes went to the bottom of the page. Turn to page 108 to see what they look like. Xanna gulped and slowly turned the pages. The page showed exactly what the spider in front of her looked like. Xanna gagged a little. I think I'm gonna puke. Hey, you're not gonna pull the stunt you did in Ghostlands, are you? Xanna didn't answer. She had already started the stunt. She was wobbling. Xanna, Oxel whispered, trying to make sure the spider wouldn't notice them and attack. Are you okay? You look like you're gonna faint. Xanna didn't answer him. She just continued to wobble. Man out, damn it! I don't want to be stranded in your mind so a spider can take your body and put you in its web like last time! Cosmo grabbed Xanna's shoulders again. Xanna, it's okay. Calm down. Just back away slowly, he whispered to her. Xanna knew she couldn't stay calm because Cosmo had called her by her name. He only did that when something was very, very bad. Hasn't he said her name 2 or 3 times already? He started to back away slowly, bringing her with him and forcing the people behind him to back up. And she said that she would protect me, he thought. 'Cause head hopping! Everyone stopped walking backwards and bumped into each other. It was because Makoki had bumped into something. The group turned around to see what he had bumped into. Why did it have to be that? Xanna thought. It was another Black Widow hatchling. It turned around and stared at Makoki, who was backing away towards his group. The spider made a noise. Uh-oh. Xanna mentally sighed. Why, uh-oh? Izzy pointed to the book again. That's how they call each other when they're in trouble. Xanna's right eye was twitching. She slowly turned her head back around to the first spider. It was walking toward her and her friends, so now both of the spiders were forcing the group to squeeze together. The first spider was an inch away from Xanna. Her heart began to beat so fast it felt like it was going to pop out of her chest, and it got faster and faster as the spider stared at her. Xanna, stay calm, Cosmo told his friend again. By this point, Xanna knew it was impossible to stay calm because that was the second time Cosmo had called her by her name. The spider touched Xanna's leg. Her eyes widened. She gasped and then held her breath so she wouldn't scream. This would probably be a good time to, I don't know, run! Izzy yelled at Xanna. She didn't say anything. Izzy snapped her fingers in front of Xanna's eyes, then waved her hand in front of her. Xanna! Xanna! Izzy began to shake Xanna. Come on, Xanna! Don't do this to me! Snap out of it! Izzy yelled and slapped Xanna. She still didn't say anything. Shit! I've lost her. I can't take over her body without her approval. Crap! What do I do? While Izzy was trying to think of something to do, the whole group was still bundled up together. Dethium wiggled her way out and walked toward the spider by Makoki. I don't see why everybody is so terrified. They're just spiders, Dethium said and pulled out a dagger. She stabbed the spider in the head. It fell to the ground. See, we're still okay, she said as she put back her dagger. Babies. That's offensive to babies. Dethium looked at Makoki, Gishpek, and Moxa. Their eyes were widening. She raised her eyebrow at them, but they didn't see it because of the belts over her face. What's wrong with you guys? Moxa slowly pointed to something behind her. Dethium turned around to see the spider she had stabbed wasn't dead. She smirked. Finally, a challenge. She pulled out both daggers and lunged herself toward the spider. The spider leaped back and made another noise, a call for the spider near Xanna to come over and help, or at least to attack Xanna. Skitter, skitter! While it made the noise, Dethium leaped onto it and sliced its back. The Black Widow hatchling screeched in pain. This made Dethium smile. The other spider walked around Xanna to go help its friend. I didn't know how its worked back then. Cosmo watched it walk away, then tapped Xanna's shoulder. Son, are you okay? Xanna didn't say anything. She just stood there. Son, are you breathing? Xanna was, in fact, not breathing. She was too shocked to notice that she wasn't. Cosmo poked Xanna's shoulder. Son, say something! Xanna still didn't say anything, but she did do something. She clenched the book that was still in her hands, as if it was a lifeline of some sort. At least I know she's not dead, Cosmo thought. Next scene of this over-dramatic chapter. As Dethium fought the spider, its friend came over to help out. Dethium smiled. This just gets better and better. Dethium did a backflip as both spiders lunged at her. Whoa! Everyone else said, except for Xanna, Cosmo, and Mittens. Xanna was still traumatized. Cosmo was trying to comfort her, and Mittens can't talk. Meow! Dethium, the amazing undead rogue girl, began to throw daggers at the spiders. Good thing I always carry spares. The spiders screeched in pain when the daggers hit them. They tried to shake them out, but it was useless. Those daggers were so deep, they were through their skulls, doing a lot of damage to their brains. The next thing Dethium did was slowly walk up to the spiders so she could finish them off. They backed away, wobbling as they did because of the daggers implanted in their heads. Dethium ran after them and tackled one. She sat on its back and cut its head off. After doing that, she looked at the other one. It was staring at its dead friend, and it looked like it was crying. Dethium smiled wickedly. You're next, pal. The Black Widow hatchling backed away slowly and screeched to the top of its lungs. Skitter, skitter! Skitter, skitter! Dethium laughed and walked toward it. Not gonna work. Your buddy's already dead. I think I was really excited to write this chapter. There are so many grammatical errors. Dethium was an inch away from the spider. It cried some more, and then she cut its head off. She dusted her hands off, then collected her daggers and walked back to the group. Their mouths had dropped to the ground, except for Xanna's because she was still traumatized. Dethium smiled when she got back to her spot in the group, and everyone was staring at her. It was silent for a moment. Makoki broke that silence. Damn, bitch. You're hardcore. The others nodded in agreement. Dethium smiled, not caring that Makoki had called her a bitch. I agree with the cow. She is one hardcore bitch. I swear, if I had my own body, I'd ask her for an autograph, Izzy told Xanna. She still didn't say anything. Izzy put her hands on her hips. How rude. How rude that you were paralyzed with fear and trauma, that you can't respond to me having a lesbian crush. How rude. Next scene. Cosmo tapped Xanna's shoulder again. Son, you can stop breathing again. The spiders are dead. Xanna's ear twitched. No, they're not. Cosmo tilted his head at his friend. Yes, they are. Xanna took his head and forced him to look to their left. More spiders had come. Oh, crap. The whole group looked around. Spiders were everywhere. Dethium just smiled and pulled out her daggers again. It must be Christmas and somebody didn't tell me. It's December while I'm recording this. The spiders began to surround the group. Xanna wanted to scream and then pass out, but they were in Duskwood, so she couldn't scream. She just passed out. Great! It's Ghostlands all over again. Next scene. Somewhere nearby, there was someone watching Xanna and her friends. Two someones. One of them tried to walk out into the middle of the road. The other stopped her. No, Seda, we can't. Seda looked up at him with big tear-filled eyes. But Lewis looked at his lovely Seda, then at the people in the road, and back at Seda. She looked just like her. They looked so much alike they were almost twins. Same skin tone, same figure and physique. They seemed to have the same everything except for their eyes, hair, and height. Seda was about 3 inches taller than her, and her hair was shorter and a little bit covered her right eye. And Seda's eyes were green, hers weren't. She'd gotten her eyes from him. I'm sorry, Seda, but we can't. It's not the right time. Seda looked up at Lewis, her eyes still filled with tears. She looked at the road, then back at Lewis. She kind of looked like him. If people saw them together, they would be able to tell she was his. Sure, she didn't get his 7 foot and 1 inch height, or his purple skin, and she didn't have his little scruffy beard, although Seda didn't think she would want that. But if you looked at their faces, you could tell. She had his eyes, his chin, she probably had a smile, and she wore her hair in an upwards ponytail like he did. Seda frowned because she wanted all of them to be together. First she lost their other child, and then, because they were on the run, she had to lose her too. It made her feel like crying, but she knew she couldn't. If she did, the people out in the road might hear her. Seda leaned on Lewis's stomach. She couldn't really lean on his chest because he was tall and she was short, being 5 feet and 5 inches in all. Lewis held her and rubbed the back of her head. We will be together again someday, Seda. Seda didn't say anything. She was afraid she would start crying if she did. Damn you, Elros. Damn you to hell. Because head hopping and anime drama, I was just making this shit up as I went along. Next scene. Cosmo looked at his unconscious friend, then he glared at Akazel. What? Cosmo pointed a finger at him. You're her boyfriend. Do something to get her out of this mess now! I'm not her boyfriend! I don't give a shit. Get her out of here now! Cosmo yelled in his most absolute Karen hairdo, grabbing Axel's collar with both of his hands and shaking him. Axel grabbed Cosmo's hands to get him to stop shaking him. Alright! I'll get us out of here. I don't care if you get them out of here. I just want her to be safe. And I swear, if she dies... Axel took Cosmo's hands off. Chill out! She's not gonna die! Axel gave Cosmo a serious look. I promise. Ah, shut up, you idiots! Damn, I hate not having my own body! Izzy yelled in Xanna's mind. She hated feeling so helpless. Axel turned away from Cosmo to give out orders to the group. Deathium! He yelled, but she was already taking on 5 of the spiders. You keep doing what you're doing. Axel turned to the others. Makoki! Gizzy! Both shamans stood at attention. Axel pointed at Makoki. You fight! He pointed at Gishpek. You heal! After receiving their orders, Makoki and Gishpek fought along with Deathium. Moxa, summon your imp and help! But I'm only a level 5. I'm not gonna do any damage. I don't care. Just fight, Axel ordered. Moxa began to summon his imp to help fight. Damn, I hate the wait. Axel stood next to Moxa as he summoned his imp to make sure the casting wouldn't be interrupted. Cosmo and Mittens ran next to Xanna to make sure the spiders didn't carry her away. He shook her a little to wake her up. Please, please, please wake up, Xanna. Next scene. The head hopping probably doesn't stop. Deathium jumped up into the air so 2 spiders would run into each other. She landed on one of them and began to make holes in its back. She was laughing the whole time. Makoki and Gishpek were making a good team together on some of the other spiders. Makoki had summoned some totems to help fight off the spiders and was using his staff to beat on their heads. And Gishpek was making a fantastic healer. Axel watched them fight off the spiders as he waited for Moxa to get done with his summoning. Hurry up! I'm sorry, it takes a while to summon at my level. Well, hurry up! Axel said as he began to fight a spider. Ah, holy crap! A dagger flew at the spider as it tried to tackle Axel to the ground. The spider was instantly dead. Deathium laughed. Too easy. Look out! Axel warned her. Deathium turned around to see a spider jump on her back. She propped herself back up and knocked the spider off. It squirmed on its back for a minute, then hopped back on its feet. It was about to charge at Deathium, but was hit by a little fireball. That the boy, Ezekiel! Moxa told his imp. Thanks, boss! Ezekiel said. The spider looked at Moxa and Ezekiel. Boss, is that thing smiling? The spider was smiling. It was smiling because Moxa and Ezekiel were the weakest of the group, and it just loved to kill the weaklings first. The Black Widow hatchling stalked toward Moxa and his imp. Boss, I think we should see other people. It's not you. It's the spider. Moxa glared down at his imp. Can't you pick some other time to quit on me? No, don't make me sacrifice you to the spider, you son of a imp! I am the son of an imp, and then they died, and those fell hunters adopted me. So stop saying that I'm the son of a fell hunter. Stop backtalking me! Maybe if you were a better boss, I wouldn't have to backtalk you! Moxa growled and kicked his imp at the spider. Fell hunter, demon child, imp! Imp, demon child, I'm the son of an imp! Ezekiel yelled at his master as he sat on the back of the giant black widow hatchling. He looked down at its eyes. It glared at him, then tried to toss him off like a bucking torrent. Whoa! Cut it out! The spider continued to try and buck him off. Boss! Help me! Moxa folded his arms and looked away. Boss! Moxa looked over his shoulder, then the other way, and stuck his nose in the air. Makaza! Oxel yelled as he fought another spider. He ran away from it, then up a tree, jumping behind it and stabbing it in its back. Stop being lazy and fight! You too, Ezekiel! I'm on it! Ezekiel yelled to Oxel. He then began to poke out the spider's eyes. It screeched and began to run wild. Skitter! Skitter, skitter! Wah! Ezekiel, the soon-to-be helpless imp, shouted as he hung onto the spider's head for dear life. Moxa gasped. I'm coming, Eek! Moxa chased after Ezekiel and the spider. They ran right past Dethium. She was in between two spiders again. She kicked one in the face and stabbed the other, then cut its two front legs. She turned to the other one and did the same thing. Dethium stood up straight and looked around at everyone fighting. They had taken down at least 20 spiders. She frowned. We're running out of spiders to kill, she sighed. Man, wish more would show up. Art! Makoki jumped back from the spider he was fighting. You! He summoned a fire totem. Crazy! Dethium put her hands on her hips. If having fun is crazy, then yes, I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Product placement! Makoki smacked the spider with his staff. Why? He jumped to his right and smacked it again. Is! He tripped the spider and planted the bottom of his staff in its head. She with us! He panted the rest of his question to Gishpek. Gishpek cast a lightning bolt on another spider. I don't know. Next scene. After they had taken down a few more spiders, the rest backed away from the group. Oh, no you don't! Dethium yelled and tried to chase them down. Oxel stopped her. Why are they backing away? Moxa asked. I don't know, but it can't be for a good reason, Oxel answered. The spiders continued to back away from the group. They did the same. What are they up to? Oxel asked himself. Cosmo picked Xanna up. Hey, Kaz, let's just get out of His ear twitched. He looked at the spiders. They were standing next to each other, as if they were some sort of army. Cosmo's ear twitched again. What do you hear? Oxel asked. Mittens hissed in the direction of the spiders and backed away, hiding behind Cosmo. A giant spider emerged from the forest and behind the army of spiders. It was big, red, green, furry, and ugly. Izzy gasped and looked at the library book. She scrolled through the pages to find the page about this spider. She gasped again when she found it. Neuraxis. Shit, shit, shit. They're all screwed. Run! Run, you idiots! Izzy began to panic. She didn't know what to do, and she hated that. Why did she pass out? Izzy walked over to Xanna. Wake up! Useless. Izzy was useless, and she hated that. While Izzy tried to wake Xanna up, the group looked at Neuraxis. Dethium's eyes began to twinkle behind her belts. This day just gets better and better, doesn't it? She began to walk toward the spiders, but Makoki stopped her. Are you crazy? Are you trying to get yourself Dethium raised an eyebrow. Because she's undead. Torn to bits? Makoki finished. I never run from a challenge, Dethium stated simply. Makoki was about to yell at her some more, but Oxel hit the back of his shoulder. Be quiet, you guys, he said as he watched the army of spiders. They were all talking to each other. If only I knew spider knees. Skitter, 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 skitter. Maybe this would be a good time to sneak away and not die, Gishpek suggested as he heard hallelujah music. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Thank you, she told to the top of Xanna's mind. Good idea, Moxa whispered, holding Ezekiel to his chest, covering the imp's mouth with his hand. Ezekiel bit down on Moxa's hand. Arr! Ow! Yeah, nice going, kid. Why didn't any of you guys think of that? We are all under pressure and couldn't think straight, Gishpek answered. Who cares? Let's just go, Oxel said. Everyone nodded and began to slowly sneak away from the spiders, except for Dethium. Makoki had to drag her with the group. Where are we going, boss? Moxa tapped on Oxel's shoulder. Where are we going? He whispered. Anywhere that's not here. Moxa and Ezekiel looked back at the spiders. Sounds good to me, they both said. As they all walked away, something scary skinny and furry, grabbed a thing that was dropped on the ground during battle. Something they needed if they wanted to get out of Duskwood alive. 10 points of gloating if you can guess what it is before we get to the part where we reveal what it is. Next scene. Every now and then as they walked to find a safe place, Oxel would look back to make sure everyone was still there and alive. Moxa was holding Ezekiel, Gishpek was following closely like a good troll, Makoki was still dragging Dethium and trying to make sure she didn't throw her daggers at everything that moved. That's squirrel dead, that's bunny dead, that's probably someone's dog that's dead, probably a cat, bird, just literally throwing daggers wildly, killing it. There's probably an innocent bystander that's on the ground bleeding to death. Mittens was following Cosmo, and Cosmo was still carrying Xanna. He kept looking at her with very concerned eyes. He would brush some of her hair back every now and then, and Oxel saw something fall from his face and onto Xanna. Is he crying? Oxel shook his head and looked forward once again. I think I see a spot over here. He turned around and held up a hand so everyone would stop walking. Let me go check it out first. He was about to say, but didn't finish. He looked at the group. Gizzy, you're in charge while I go check out the spot. After saying that, Oxel left. Everyone looked at Gishpek. What? They looked at him for another moment, then sat down. Makoki and Moxa were still holding the squirmy and annoying undead girl and fell hunter child. Will you stop squirming? Makoki asked Dethium. She continued to squirm. Don't make me remove your head! Dethium looked up at him, then stopped squirming. But not because Makoki told her to. When he wasn't looking, she slowly pulled out a dagger and threw it at a nearby rabbit. Or bunnies. Makoki glared at her. That's it! He picked her up and placed her in his lap. Moxa's eyes widened. Dude, I didn't know you were into that. Boss, would that be called necrophilia or bestiality? I think it's called necroality or beastophilia. Ezekiel laughed. He and Moxa high-fived each other. Makoki and Dethium both turned bright red, although nobody knew why Dethium did, or even if it was possible for an undead person to turn that color. Dethium tried to jump out of Makoki's lap. I oughta! Makoki held her back. Let me go, I'm gonna kill those annoying pests! Dethium threw a dagger at Moxa and Ezekiel. Ah! Moxa held Ezekiel in front of his face. Ah! Ezekiel tried to squirm out of his master's hands, but they didn't need to worry or sacrifice each other to the crazy undead girl, because Gishpek had caught the dagger. Miss Dethium, calm down, please. She glared at him. He gestured his head to where Mittens, Cosmo, and Xanna were sitting. Xanna was still passed out, and Cosmo was still cradling her like she was a baby. Please, wake up, Xanna. He wiped a tear from his eye. Dethium rolled her eyes. I can't believe she's still out. They were just spiders. The guys glared at her. What? Nobody said anything. Gishpek walked over to Cosmo and Xanna. He kneeled down next to them. How's she doing? Well, she's still breathing, he answered, looking at Xanna and brushing some of her hair back again. He looked at Gishpek when he had placed a hand on his shoulder. He was smiling. She'll be okay. She just got a little scared. Cosmo gave him a look. Little. She stood there traumatized after seeing just one spider, and now she's unconscious. I don't think that's little. Dogs. Cosmo huffed. Gishpek shrugged. My point is, she'll be okay. Gishpek looked at Xanna. She looked very peaceful. She didn't look like she was unconscious because she was terrified by tons of spiders. She looked like she was sleeping and having a sweet dream. Gishpek took his hand off of Cosmo's shoulder. She looks peaceful. Cosmo looked down at his sister-like friend. Oh, sure, let's call it that. The only reason she's this afraid of spiders is because when she was 4, she went exploring in the Ghostlands and ran into a giant spider. Because she was little, she thought it was a puppy and tried to play with it. Gishpek tilted his head. That's, what happened after that? Spider tried to feed her to its kids, of course. Ah. Cosmo rubbed Xanna's hair again. Yeah, she's been terrified of spiders since, and that's why she passed out. Not because she's just some chicken, he said in a defensive voice. It's okay. Perfectly understandable, Gishpek said calmly, trying to get Cosmo to calm down. Okay, guys, you can come over here, Oxel said. And for some reason, he was covered in mud. Everyone burst out into laughter. Oh, shut up, Oxel said, very annoyed. Izzy laughed. She looked over to Xanna. Come on, you know that was funny, she said, pretending Xanna was still awake and disapproving of Izzy's laughter. Next scene. The group followed Oxel to the safe spot he had found. It was a nice little cozy spot. Nice and soft dead grass to lay down, plenty of trees to hide them from monsters, and just the right amount of moonlight showing through them. Cosmo tilted his head as he stared at the moonlight. Why is the moon up when it's only 11 in the morning? Daylight savings time? Gishpek answered. The daylight doesn't need to be saved that much. The moon likes to be up early? It was lonely? I don't know. Gishbeck started to freak out a little. He hated not knowing things and answering questions wrong, but it wasn't his fault. It was this blood elf teacher's fault. Stupid teacher, he thought. Yeah, that's what we're calling him. Gizzy, calm down. No one cares if you don't know why the moon is up, Oxel said. Hearing that made him feel a little better. If they didn't care, he didn't. And after being reassured that it was okay for not knowing something, he laid down on the grass. So, what do we do now, Ock? Moxa asked. Oxel shrugged. Don't know. We were following Xanna and now she's unconscious, so I guess we just wait till she wakes up. He answered and laid down on the grass like Gishbeck had done. Or we could go back there and kick some spider ass. Dethium grinned at the thought of killing Naraxis. She wanted to kill him slowly. I want to kill that big spider, making little holes in his back, stabbing out his eyes, cutting his legs off and then his head, and then I'll watch him wait for his death as he slowly dies. She laughed. Everyone stared at her. That's it! You just lost your head privileges, Makoki said. He took off Dethium's head and put it in one of his bags. Her body punched his shoulder. Put my head back on! She shouted from the bag. Makoki pushed over Dethium's body. No! Now! Maybe tomorrow. Night, Makoki said and passed out instantly. The bag he had put Dethium's head in began to hop around. She was having a fit. She was yelling all kinds of things, but no one understood them because her yells were muffled. Moxa and Ezekiel quietly laughed. Go to sleep, Oxel told him as he stared at the sky. But I'm not tired! I don't care. Go to bed. Fine, Moxa said and laid down. He used one of his bags for a pillow and cuddled up with Ezekiel. They both fell asleep as soon as their heads touched the bag. Not tired, my ass, Oxel thought. He chuckled a little bit, then he looked over at Cosmo and Xanna. Cosmo was setting things up so Xanna could be comfortable as she slept. He pulled out a blanket from a bag, put it on the ground. Okay, Mittens, lay down. Mittens laid down at the top of the blanket. Cosmo placed Xanna on the blanket and made sure Mittens was comfortable and that Xanna was okay with the cat pillow. After that, he pulled out another blanket and put it on her and laid down, holding her close, making sure nothing would take her as everyone slept. He kissed Xanna's forehead, then fell asleep. It took Oxel an hour to fall asleep. He couldn't stop thinking about Xanna and how close she was to dying and how terrified she was of the spiders. He felt like it was his fault. Before he fell asleep, Oxel looked at Xanna once more. I promised Cosmo she wouldn't die, and I'm gonna make sure she doesn't, he told himself. Good night, Xanna. He saw Xanna smile in her sleep. He smiled a little, then fell asleep himself. Final scene. They watched the kids fall asleep, most of their attention on Xanna. Seda reached out a hand, wanting to touch her sweet head and kiss it like Cosmo had done. Lewis placed a hand on her shoulder. She looked at him, looked back at Xanna, and slowly lowered her hand. Good night, Xanna, she said softly. Good night, Daddy's little princess, Lewis said. After saying their goodnights to their daughter, they went to go find a safe spot nearby to go to bed. We'll all be together again soon, someday, I promise, Lewis thought. End chapter 9. I definitely made this up as I was going along. This originally was only supposed to be 5 chapters because my very first fan fiction was 5 chapters and I had a little OCD at the time, meaning obsessive compulsive disorder. I wanted to make sure it was no longer than 5 chapters and that didn't happen because with my first fan fiction, believe it or not, I actually had that a little more planned out than this. This, I made it up. Every day was a word dump into a file that I called a chapter and I posted it online. Writing style, 0. Grammar, punctuation, spelling, 0. Plot, 0.1 because we're going somewhere. In a new territory, the characters are going through some troubles, and Xanna has parents. Characters, 0.1, they're going through some struggles. Xanna has parents. But why aren't these parents coming out? Why? Why aren't they coming out? Let's wait and find out. There's gotta be a reason, right? So that's what I can give it for now. Entertainment? I'm gonna keep my 5 out of 5 on entertainment because it still has my attention to read. This would make a really, really good average quality anime, which is what I was going for. But I think that's all I have to say for now. Let's see where this goes. If you have any predictions, be sure to tell me in the comments. Always strike up a conversation because I'm happy to talk to people. Thank you for being here with me. See you next time, and may the peace be with you.